Welcome to Craft and Chaos, the show where we make things, break things, and occasionally realize someone has built a small emotional shrine out of something we said as a joke. I'm Pete Wright, podcaster and sometimes writer, and I'm joined by Mandy Fabian, filmmaker, Robin Dalton? Who the hell is Robin Dalton?
You got Robin Dalton?
There are some crazy consonants in this sentence, and they tripped me up. Ryan Dalton's
here. No, I told Robin Dalton to get back in the car and wait for me till I'm done with the show. You leave.
Damn it, Robin.
Attaboy.
Ryan Dalton, author, is here, and Kyle Olson, playwright, is here. Hello, team.
Hello.
Hello. Say hello kindly, and then I'll tell you what we're talking about today. This is the problem. What?
Did you introduce Mandy, or did I pass out for a second and not?
I did. No, I did introduce Mandy.
Then
Mandy was first. Mandy is always first.
Then
Yes.
I passed out for a
You
second.
passed-
Well,
did.
I think
Robin
that's when you
was
were
there.
wrestling Robin to the ground.
Oh,
so,
that's what it
there was
was.
a lot
I was
going on.
preoccupied. Yes,
Robin
sorry.
takes up a lot of space.
yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Here is the problem we are unpacking today. We're going to talk about the moment your work gets even a little traction. People don't just consume it. They start to organize around it. They quote it back to you. They turn throwaway lines into canon. They want access. They want answers. They want the sequel to the thing you made while you were half asleep and eating pretzels. So, what changes when you're at the center of that? What do you owe? What do you protect? What do you encourage? And what do you shut down before it starts chewing through your joy? When your work becomes a gathering place, I would like to introduce you to a tour of your own reviews. This one comes in at 5 stars, who says, I know the end credits say any resemblance to living persons is a coincidence, but as a Jessica/Jess, who is best friends with a Melanie from high school and was supposed to be said Melanie's maid of honor, but ended up missing the wedding, I am suspicious that this movie isn't, at least in part, about me. That, of course, is a review of Jess Plus None from filmmaker Mandy Fabian. How about this one? This one comes in, says, it's a rollicking good time. I recently found this podcast and I binged all the episodes. It is so fun. I love the characters. I love the premise. I love the storylines. Long live Madame Liberté, Madame Égalité, and Madame Fraternité. That is, of course, the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society by podcaster, writer, producer, Kyle Olson. And how about this one? See if you can guess who this one's for.
The suspense is killing me, Pete.
This will touch your heart as it did mine. Archie's feelings for his grandfather, a 10. So many layers. A great book. Perfect for ages 10 plus. Also, having had a similar experience with a family member growing up as an adult, I know the younger me would have really appreciated this wonderful book. It is a treasure. 5 stars. This is, of course, for Ryan Dalton's book, This Last Adventure. And also the 4-star review that comes right after that. Would recommend. So there's a whole spectrum of people who are engaging in our collective material. And I would like to hear from you about the first moment that it clicked, that you weren't creating in any sort of vacuum. The first time you realized you weren't just making a think, right? You were just spitting words on a page. You were creating a place for people to return to. And I am open to whoever wants to go first. But Mandy is sitting there nodding so nicely that I think I'm going to call on Mandy.
You may call on me. It was such I don't know if you've ever, I worked, filmmaking is an all-encompassing process.
Yeah.
You work for years on the script and then you find a way to make it, and then you make, you finish it and you're like, okay, what's next in festivals and how would I market it? And like, you're making this whole thing and you understand that you're sharing it with the world, but I will never forget the moment in my hotel room at the night of the world premiere of it and realizing I was walking out of the theater and this woman was like, "Hey, I reviewed your movie. Look for it in a few days." Like, and it was like, and I got back to my hotel room. And I was like, oh my God. I never even thought about reviews. Like I started off doing theater where you can go and, I used to do work like a dog pooping in the rain. Like, you do it because you have to, and then you run. You do the theater and you let people see it and then you walk away. So you never have to know what they thought of afterwards and then, but doing a movie and then I did a bunch of shorts and things. I did a lot of things that I never had to really hear any sort of critical reaction. And I didn't have that. I just never even put my stuff online, to be honest, not in any way that was out there. So that was my first experience with it. And it was like, I had not prepared myself for it at all. And at first I was terrified, but then it actually was a very important part of my whole process because I was like, oh, you have to share stuff. You have to build a thick skin and be ready. Like sharing it is the whole point. That's the magic of it. So people can discover it and delight in it. And that's what you're going for. That's the whole point of making anything. So that was at first it really sent me into a fetal position. That was a long answer and a big story, but it was a real moment for me.
It does. It just reminds you that, oh my God, like the second part of creation is hearing what people think, right? Like you forget that there are going to be people talking back at you about this thing that you're working for years on. What do you got, Kyle?
So, creating the show, sort of putting it out there, not really doing anything back. We got our first couple things on Twitter when Twitter was still Twitter and nice, and creatives were gathering together in those places. And it was really cool because it was the first person that I didn't know who then came back into it. There's sort of like the people who are peripherally involved and, they're on one episode and then they listen to it and say, oh, that was really fun. And so too. And that's nice. But then to have a complete stranger say this was like, oh, wow, I kind of forgot that other people besides just the people who make it are actually listening to it as well. And then sort of the biggest one came then from, it's like call came from inside the house, is that one of our actors' siblings became one of the biggest fans of the show entirely. And so whenever something would happen, I would get these screenshots of their text conversations. Her going, oh my God, I'm crying so hard at this, whatever. So it's almost like now I do it and just be like, so what they think?
Yeah.
So I was like, I have that, like, Stephen King talks about like the ideal reader, the constant reader. I now have that. And I can be like, oh, so how'd that go over? Did it land? Is it good?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's surreal.
It is surreal. So Ryan, you've written series of things and you keep coming back to a universe well. Have you started to see the pickup in terms of people creating a world of fandom beyond what you intended?
Yeah, well, I remember distinctly the first, I always had the sense of people reading my stuff when it came out. But at first, it was only in my head because I would talk about it so much and the stuff that was coming out. My friends and family and the people that knew it was coming, I knew that a lot of them would be reading it. I had not thought about the wider public reading it very much. And so when I first started getting, people would tag me on social media with and they'd taken pictures of themselves with the book and to give their thoughts. And they were starting to make it on the lists of oh, here's my favorite reads of the fall or whatever. And it's people that I did not know, had never seen or anything like that. And that thought that oh yeah, people that I have never thought about or considered or known at all out there without my knowing it are sitting there reading my stuff. That was a very surreal experience. And then you get little reminders along the way because, you get back to work and, you start working on the next stuff. And sometimes you don't think about it still happening. But then you get a little piece of fan mail. Then you get someone will make something for you and bring it to you. I had someone make an entire diorama, a light up battery powered diorama of a major setting in my first novel. and bring it to me.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like,
The next
"You did
time they
this."
made a diorama of my bedroom, it was really
Right,
weird.
yeah.
That was weird.
I woke up and they were just standing there handing it to me. I'm like, thanks, I guess.
That is outstanding. That is just
I am
outstanding.
totally doing that for my wedding anniversary.
yeah,
That's
and
my
things
gift.
like that. Yeah, and some things were, just like they put craftsmanship into, which is, which is wild. And then others, I remember I got at one of the Comic-Con, actually this con, a Phoenix Con, there was the grandparents of someone I knew from the con who randomly picked up my book. My first one, really liked it, then came and found me for the next 2 years to buy the next two because they knew they were coming out in kind of year-long increments. And then I remember the fourth one after that, they couldn't be there, but they had given a letter to their grandson to give to me because they weren't going to be there to talk to me. They just wanted me to know, like, it was a full-page letter about how they read the books out loud together and they cried over the finale together and how much they loved it. And I was like, man, I didn't even think of grandparents as the intended audience for these, yet here they are responding like that. Yeah, it's very surreal and very rewarding.
So when you think about collectively now you start realizing this, and I'll say just for me, I will never forget. I mean, it's cemented in my cerebral cortex. The first time I was in a crowded elevator, and everybody left the elevator except for one other person, and that person said, as soon as there was silence, "I listened to your podcast," and I thought, oh my God, they said, "You're Pete Wright from the podcast," that they named the podcast, and said, I just want you to know I listen every week. And they recognized me from my voice, from hearing me just say hi to other people. They did not recognize my face. And I was blown away by that because it's that same experience of, oh my God, people that I don't know, who I've been the people I've been begging to listen to my stuff, I probably not listened anyway, but there are people I've never met who are listening to this thing. It is an astounding bit of unnerving reality. So
yeah, even when we started doing Saturday Matinee, which was the show where all the different hosts from all the different shows would come together and sort of mix and match. And that's when I met Ray, who's been on many, many of these shows. And as we were before the show talking, he was saying like, oh yeah, I've listened to Marvel Movie Minute, which is what Rob and I had sort of, that's how we came into the family or whatever too. And he's like, oh yeah, I've listened to it a couple times. And I was like, I'm sorry? Like, he's like, oh yeah, I've listened to the whole season. And then I've gone back and listened to it again. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was so like, I always thought of it as being sort of disposable. Like, it's sort of like you listen once and then off it goes and you never think about it again. But it was the first time I'm like, oh, it's good enough that you listened to a second time. Oh, wow. Okay.
Is there, have
really
you looked into professional help about that? Because
as you were nice enough to read all these reviews of us, I would like to bring up the fact that the creator of a thing that you discussed reached out to you, and you are now a DVD extra. Can you talk about that? I mean, that's a pretty high mark.
That it's a bizarre experience. We over on the Next Reel, part of the Next Reel family of film shows. Andy Nelson and I had done a thorough review of one of our favorite films, Intacto, and I mean, it's just an extraordinary movie in so many ways. And we had been found by the production team that had the rights to do a DVD box set release, and they said, we'd like to include your podcast as one of the DVD extras to teach people about the movie, and we will take your audio and we will go ahead and build the video element with slideshows and clips from the film and all of that stuff. And so we're a DVD extra, which was it's a little bit surreal. Look, there it is. Good God, it's right there. It's right there. So it is a surreal experience to start seeing your work show up on on actual boxes of things that you own. It's weird. It's very weird. So I thank you for bringing that up. Honestly, I had forgotten that had happened. So in terms of creating things, as you're creating things, and both of you work in worlds, right?
True.
I want to know if, as you're writing, you are now thinking about what things to embrace, what things to connect to past books, specifically in the spirit of fan expectation, or of things that you think might resonate with fans to the point where they'll take on and start using things like slogans and buy T-shirts and stuff like that. The question was, when you are creating, especially when you're working in an existing world, but any kind of property, are you writing at all with the intent or expectation that something that you're putting on a page or on screen is going to be picked up by fans? Do you ever find you write lines that would be great on a T-shirt, kind of a thing? Like, what's your expectation of fan building when you're world building?
Well, it's interesting because when, not that I'm thinking of specific people, but when I set out to write a scene, almost any scene, my first question that I ask myself is, what do I want the reader to feel about this scene? And so I'm sort of, in a way, always thinking about, kind of more in nebulous terms, who is going to be the end reader and what experience I want them to have in the scene. I don't typically try to think of like stuff that would go on a T-shirt. You do end up having things later on that you're like, oh, that's a nice turn of phrase. I do think mechanically of like, how do I want to end every chapter in that, like, especially not just I want them to have had this experience in the scene and in this chapter, but how am I going to end the chapter in the way that makes them groan at the thought of not continuing? So I want to put something in the end that beckons them to turn the next page. So I think of it in terms of just the intrinsic experience right there of reading the book more than anything. Now, as I've gotten farther into it, there is the occasional thing that I've indulged in that I thought, oh, this might pay off in something later on that's sort of extra outside the universe of the actual book. Like I knew an author once actually that I'd done some panels with at Comic-Con, and they said, oh yeah, always write some sort of iconic objects into your book so that if the book does well, you can sell that as merch later on and end up having secondary income. So I do find, I haven't done it as much with anything else, but I do find with the Black Cape saga that I have put a couple of things in there that I describe in a way that I think, yeah, okay, if this takes off enough, then we could definitely create some merch with this on T-shirts or a pendant or something like that. So I do think about that a little more now than I would have in the past, but it's mostly just about the experience in the moment.
I love that, and I love that you're starting to think in terms of seeding, only because one of my great loves in terms of my own fandom is John Wick. And I carry in my wallet one of the gold coins
Nice.
as a challenge coin, and it's heavy and gold and it feels great. And as soon as I kind of have a hint that somebody's a John Wick fan, I'll pull it out of my wallet and slide it across the table. And there's just a moment of connection and joy in that experience. And I love that this bit of stupid memorabilia actually connects me to people I've never met before in a way that is full of joy and not dread in the year 2026.
Yeah,
right.
I have fandom tattoos on my body, so I have a collection of of nerdy weaponry that is around. And when I was at the dentist a while ago, somebody recognized Sting from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
and turns out she's a huge Lord of the Rings. So my dental hygienist and I just like, well, I mean, mostly it was her talking because her fingers were in my mouth. But it was, we had this nice conversation about Lord of the Rings.
I think
and it was
huge.
like, because I had it, and specifically like, this is why I have this out there. Like, literally have my fandom written on my arm, and it's like she found the one thing that she connected with, and we had a great conversation about it.
I think that's really huge. And I've been thinking more and more about it specifically in this context, that I don't think J.R.R. Tolkien ever imagined that Kyle Olson would get a fan tattoo of Sting on his arm. And
he'd probably be really annoyed by it, which,
Yeah, Right. He was just kind of a snarly old guy.
Yeah.
But the reality is we live in an age where some agency on the part of the creator exists where you get to influence fans' participation. And so Ryan, I love your answer. Mandy, what do you think? I happen to know that we have a whole line of T-shirts of slogans and stuff that we've put from Just Plus None.
It's the joy of my life. One of the merch things from the one of the T-shirts from the film came about because for weeks after seeing it, my kids were like, "I reject your rabbit wisdom." It's a line from the movie, and I loved it. I was like, "Oh my God, we have to put that on a T-shirt."
Yeah.
So, but I love it. It didn't occur to me, honestly, like I said, because I had mostly done theater, and I heard from friends and people I knew. But to your point, Ryan, I didn't know that just having it open to the world, like anyone, people who don't know you personally, being able to see things. That was a really cool thing. It's always exciting to hear from someone you don't know. And I'm trying to be better. I've just actually recently kind of come clean with the idea of the whole, because the internet could be a very mean place. And that was always like, oops, that's not for me. I don't belong there. And I always felt very private. But I love connecting with people who connect with something that I've done or I like sharing my appreciation for work of other people. So now I have this new understanding of it. I know I'm late to the game, but I feel like, oh, well, that celebration of things is just as important as the people that go on there and criticize things. Like, you need to expand it and let people know what you like. And working on my next movie, I think all the time about, like, I wonder, like, what do people tell me that they loved about Just Plus None? What was singular about that movie that struck a chord in them? And I make sure that I try to put that same essence or quality into my next thing, because even if it's in a different genre, I do have a certain thing going on, and it's exciting to me that people do tend to come back or like it. And being able to really connect with them and hear from people is kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of delightful when you get to be made aware that people have watched your thing or listened to your thing so many times that they have created culture out of it.
Yeah. Even
that's the dream.
Your elevator story, I had similar when I was the Phoenix theater community is pretty small. Like for being a big city, it's sort of like if you know somebody, you probably know somebody who knows somebody. It's not that widespread. But I was at a thing talking to somebody, and the guy introduced me to his wife. Like, oh, it's like, this is kind of, it's just like, oh, okay. And then, like, I don't know her shit than me. And then he said, oh, he's the one who wrote, and I had just an adaptation of 20,000 Leagues. And like the look that changed on her face of like, oh, it was like, oh, that was the first time I'd ever experienced someone being like, oh, you did that thing? Like face to face. It was like, oh, wow. I just got a small glimpse of what it's like to be a celebrity just for like that 1 minute.
I often think about that scene in When Harry Met Sally. The scene that isn't about Harry and or Sally, but is about Bruno Kirby and Carrie Fisher, when she says a quote, says, I read that last week, and he says, that's me. I wrote that. I've never been quoted back to me before.
Yeah.
That is one of those astonishing moments that I just love. That was my elevator moment. And so as you transition to seeing more of this stuff, and seeing more people kind of take up and write nice comments like the ones I read for you all before we, started in this part of the conversation, as you start to see threads are being pulled on your own material, what is your sense of agency in cultivating that community? And to what degree have you already done it, if at all? Ryan, we'll start with you again.
Okay, yeah. Well, at first, I want to mention an elevator moment I had that was very cool and unexpected. So it was dinner at a friend of a friend's house. We hadn't met before. It was a big group of us. They had a couple of teenage kids there as well. And this one, their daughter, I feel, you get sometimes someone will look at you in a way that you can tell they're trying to figure something out. I noticed it peripherally a couple of times and didn't pay much attention. But later on in the evening, when it was a little quieter, she had gone into her room. She came out with something in her hands and she said, "I knew you looked familiar to me." And she held out my book.
Right?
I was like, well, that's super cool.
So what did you do in that moment, Ryan? You sign it?
I signed it for her.
Get
yeah.
a selfie with them? You say, "Hey, do you want me to come back and hang out in your room for a little while? Let me get a glass of wine."
Maybe with my lawyer.
Who made it weird? Who
Yeah.
made it weird just now?
Could you guys sign this release before we have a conversation? No, I did say, "Hey, would you like me to sign it for you?" And she did. So I signed and personalized it for her.
That's awesome.
So anyway, yeah, that was a cool moment. As far as like fostering community, I don't do a ton of that like online or anything. I mainly do what I want to do online and know that if there are fans or if there are people that find me through that and then find my books, and become fans, that's great. And that mainly just consists of me posting thoughts that are quirky and weird and silly and funny. Some people think they're funny. And I think, hey, if they think that's funny or something, they may be drawn to say, "Hey, who is this guy?" And let me check out his books. I don't spend a ton of energy on like the online stuff or the community stuff at this point, just because I feel like the energy is better poured into the books. Having said that, as a series picks up, it is a good idea, to split time a little more. It's good to acknowledge like fans. Like I had one fan of the Time Shift trilogy that created a wiki for the series.
For crying out loud.
Stuff down. Yeah. So of course I had to shout that out and, spread that and be like, "Hey, go check this out. This is super cool." As much stuff as I'm putting into this new series, the Black Cape Saga, I hope someone makes a wiki because then I'll be able to refer to it and being like, what did I do in book 4? So it's one of those that I think it ramps up as a series goes on. But I'm still at kind of the build point for this series again. So I'm a little more kind of head down in my work at the moment.
It's hard because I don't get a lot of feedback. I don't get a lot of comments and that stuff. So
we've talked about that.
Everything is sort of kind of just goes by feel, and there's a lot of things where I have to do this balance of like I want to build a universe, like I want to have stuff too. So whenever I get in a situation where I need something, I kind of look back and go, is there a character I've already done that I can bring back in, as opposed to creating somebody brand new, so that you have that continuity of it. But then you have to always run that line of like, I also don't want to get into the Game of Thrones thing where it's like, if they just jump in now, then they're going to be completely lost. So it's that.
Yeah, everything's pastiche of your own work. That's rough.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that everything was important. It was like, well, no, sometimes it's just one and done and you'll never see them again. But then other times I like to have it be that it is a living universe where people grow and change and they show up and they disappear and, to have that. But it's, so I don't really know who the fan favorite characters are. Like, I just kind of have to go by who's available, either characters I love and actors that I like, and they can't do it anymore. And their circumstances have changed or they're not acting anymore. And I have to completely revamp. So it's the balancing act of like what worked in my head, what can I do, and what works within the schedule.
To the original question, how do you engage when you discover that there is a fandom that's growing around something that you've created, when people are starting to comment, right? What kind of world do you build? And to what extent do you feel responsible to be involved, right? And I run this challenge all the time because, some of the podcasts that I do have communities, some of them don't. Our biggest community's got, thousands of people in it, and it's very busy. And I find there is a they're all very self-supporting. Like I don't need to be there, right? And thank God I don't, because I'm low-key terrified of it. And I love it at the same time. It's very complicated to know that there are people, there's a large group of people, by my estimation. I'm not the Taylor Swift of podcasting, dear God. But there are enough people there that if I screw up, it's going to be rough and I'm going to regret it. And so I'm so gentle. And maybe that's a disservice to both the community and to me, because I'm so arm's length about it. But to some degree, it's important. I recognize it's important today in a way that it wasn't important for Charles Dickens, right?
Although he made a lot of money touring around and filling up whole theaters and reading his stuff off. So I think he was aware.
Yeah, it's actually the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, and Mandy, you're coming off of for the as you said, years on Jess Plus None, working on your new thing now, but you toured all over the place to put your body in front of people to build presumably a fandom.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great to be able to get a sense of, I think that's also how you get your feedback from the work, because, reviews are really people who are willing to write reviews. It's not an honest feedback of how the piece is actually doing. And mostly because it's a comedy, there's a bit of, and I just wanted to see what people's response was. And I also just, for filmmaking, anybody who shows up live to a movie theater is like, you have to be there to thank them. In my opinion, you move hell and high water to get in person, look them all in the eye and go, this is a circle. We are in a circle. And without you, this circle is not complete. This movie showing in an empty theater or not at all is not complete. So you have come and completed the circle, and thank you for being a part of this art. I mean, it really is that important. So that was something I really loved doing. And I did try to build, it's interesting. I think there's a real responsibility too for an artist, or if you have a team of people, I do think it's important to stay in touch with people, to let them know, make sure that you can get in touch with them when the next project comes. Like, really, you have to go ahead and say, like, follow me on Instagram, or like get on the mailing list and I'll let you know. And all those things are, it's kind of an extra job. You can't really focus on it when you're working on your new project. That's the hard balance. I'm like, and I always wonder, I'm like, do they want to see me drinking tea in a cute little London cafe? I don't think so. Like, I think they just want to hear about my next project, but that might mean because I'm working on my next project, I haven't posted in a few months. But connecting with people, like I actually took my films and put them up on a YouTube channel. Hadn't occurred to me before. They were always on my website. I had done them and I was like, oh, people know I've done stuff, but I forget, like, I'm a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So I made a channel of all of my films and I put them all up on this YouTube channel, and I did nothing. I didn't even tell anybody that I made it. And like, one of my films got like 27,000 views in 2 months. And, and I got, so it's one of those things where you go, oh, well, that's a great way to just, I don't have to work too hard. Like that site in and of itself is connecting with people. They're bored and looking for a Christmas movie or a horror comedy, or they like this actor and that actor happens to be in one of my movies. And it's great. And some people comment and most don't. But it's like they like and they subscribe. And I'm not looking at it to like, I don't need to go into my next meeting and say, oh, I have this many subscribers on YouTube. But for me, I know that people are watching. Like, it is a kind of feedback that makes you go, oh, good. And what I'm not good at is sort of controlling the narrative of how to get, like, how people are going. Like, I would love to do a live chat about, like, hey, I have this idea about, the woman in my next screenplay has a terrible secret, and I need ideas for what that terrible secret might be. Like, what's the worst thing you've ever heard that somebody did that they were ashamed to tell you, or something like that. I think it'd be fun. I would love to include ideas like that and then have fans sort of see it in their next movie.
To create like an economy of fan ideas, right? Real give and take. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love to collaborate. Like, because everybody, I think, is a storyteller. And that's why they love storytelling. That's why they love going to the movies.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do now, or next. We're going to talk about music. It's a bit of a mid-show sidebar. We're going to talk about music, and brilliance will ensue. But when we come back to this topic in our last segment, we're going to talk about our favorite creators from the perspective of what they do to build us into their economy as fans. And then we're going to play a game. But first, I feel like it would I would be remiss if I did not introduce our first sponsor.
This is a message to my American friends. Bonsoir, les amis. It seems things in your country are not going how you wish they would. You were once the envy of all, and now you seem diminished. You are feeling lost, confused, powerless. The people of France have a solution for you. a system we've been using for longer than your country has been in existence. It's called ennui. Feeling hopeless? Ennui. A sense of foreboding? Ennui. Lack of motivation? Ennui. Works best while staring across a still body of water, contemplating a gray sky, or sitting on a bench with your head in your hands. And if anyone asks, tell them it's not depression, it's ennui. Accept the pain like a poet. C'est la vie.
I'd like to say that I do use Ennui for all my existential crisis needs, and it is outstanding. 5 stars.
Yeah.
5 stars for
A
Ennui.
celebrity endorsement. Look at that.
Two points on Ennui. I'm so glad that they were here to sponsor us today. One, I think I need a shirt that just says Ennui, and the shirt has to just be white and or black. The other thing is I'd like to call back to, I think some of these actors have appeared in a previous sponsor ad, Wall, which I feel like some of them may be getting around, and it's nice to see them get work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the nice thing is that even this time of tumult, the actors still going. So special thanks to Amy Shaw for no particular reason.
I thought that was Shaw. Yeah,
just a delightful human being, Amy Shaw.
She's great.
And now I turn to our sidebar leads for today's show, Kyle Olson and Ryan Dalton, who are going to talk to us about music.
Yeah. So one of the things that Dalton and I share is a passion for music to create by. So we both develop certain things. And so I want to talk a little bit about what kind of music that we use and other people can use to basically set up the environment so that you can have to shut out whatever the noises around the world and to pleasant sounds into your head that aren't too distracting and stuff too. So obviously one of my big go-tos is soundtracks. I mean, I tend to not like any lyrics in the thing at all, because it's especially when you're writing, then suddenly you're listening to words that are coming in, and maybe some of the words tend to go through your fingers and stuff too, and you find, oh wait, no, that's not what I want at all. But I also have, and so like it's out there, and then you start with the popular ones. But then I realized that every time that the familiar John Williams riff would come up, then it would distract me too, because now I'm thinking about Star Wars, I'm thinking about whatever it is, and so I had to like start eliminating those out of the mix to just on sort of just the background and stuff. And then I switched over and I started adding video game soundtracks, because video game soundtracks are great because a lot of them are orchestral, and they're also designed to keep your heart pumping and keep you moving and things too. But it really got to the point where I was creating specific lists for specific moods that I could do, and sort of to try and find thematic things like movies and shows and things that matched kind of what I was doing and put it on. And then I would have those, and then it would cycle through. And then at a certain point, your brain starts catching on to those rhythms and sound stuff too, and you find yourself having to like add more things in so you don't keep hearing the same things over and over again. So that's my initial thoughts. Dalton, I know you do the same.
Yeah. So in general, I tend to stick to instrumental stuff, especially because so much of my work tends to be fairly dialogue heavy, because it's my favorite thing to write. And if I've got other words that are going through my head, it's definitely going to interrupt my rhythm as far as what I'm trying to have the characters say. The exception to that would be if I'm writing some pretty intense action scenes, then I don't mind lyrics as much, especially if it's like an intense song that I can just crank until it's all kind of a white noise haze around me. That's more just ends up being more just a vibe than anything. And then I can just, scream to this action scene, not literally scream in my head, definitely, but can't scream in a coffee shop. I mean, you can, it's probably legal, but
once you can do it once.
Yeah. Then they ask you to leave, but, so yeah. And,
they ask you.
Yeah. Well,
Things
they
are
asked
different
the
in
first time. So yeah, I tend to go the same way. Soundtracks are also very, very handy. I like obscure TV show soundtracks. Like one of my favorites is from a detective show from Finland called Borderland. Bordertown. Sorry. But yeah, it's like a crime detective show and follows this kind of this one like very talented detective and yeah, the music in it is very cool and like there's a show for 2 years about alternate universes called Counterpart, and that has some really cool stuff in it. And finding obscure stuff is good because kind of like you, Kyle, if I can't use stuff that's too iconic or too tied to iconic scenes, because that's all I'm going to see in my head if I use those. And I tend to use stuff that evokes a very specific emotion, a very specific rhythm, and those are going to end up finding their way right into the scene. And so if something is too tied to something else, that's going to undermine it. Now, on the other hand, sometimes I want something that goes a little bit longer and is just going to be a vibe in the background. There are tons of really cool compilations on YouTube, some really good playlists that are just like these whole like long instrumental vibe pieces that, and sometimes it's stuff, stitched together and to flow a certain way. Sometimes it's just something that someone's synthesized, and put online. And it's just a cool thing to have in the background. And those can go anywhere from sort of swashbuckling to happy-go-lucky to melancholy to evil. And so you can have a vibe kind of running in the background for really as long as you want. That's great for a certain type of drafting or a certain type of planning. Once I'm heavy into writing specific scenes, I tend to use shorter pieces. And that's where I like a lot of these guys that do, and you'll find them in YouTube as well, that do specifically what they call like trailer music, some of which is bombastic and loud and some of which is a little more gentle. But I like that because they only run, like 2 to 4 minutes. Whereas sometimes a soundtrack song goes 7 or 8 minutes and it goes through different tones and rhythms and vibes. But I only want one tone or rhythm and vibe when I'm writing a specific scene. So I tend to shy away from those when I'm deep into drafting. And I'm always looking to collect songs and thinking that that sounds like something that I would use in a soundtrack. And so I have a catch-all writing playlist that I pull from when I make individual playlists for the stuff that I'm working on. Like right now, I'm working on something that is probably the most serious thing I've ever worked on. There's not a lot of jokes in it. And so I've got stuff that's a little darker than I would normally do. Like I'll pull up my playlist. So I've got stuff from let me see. I've got stuff from Broadchurch, which is an excellent soundtrack. I've got that Bordertown soundtrack. Like I said, I have the Severance soundtrack. So stuff that feels just a little bit wrong, but also can have a beauty to it as well. So that's what I'm currently using. But yeah, and one of my favorite early parts of the creation process is to say, okay, time to make the playlist. And that's where I'm really starting to think about the tone and the rhythm of the story, and it starts to come alive for me.
One of my go-tos also is Vitamin String Quartet. They're a group that they basically do pop songs as a string quartet. So they'll do the music of Taylor Swift. They'll do songs from the 80s. They'll do all these things. Whenever something poppy comes out, they'll do the version of it. And I've created like a 9-hour playlist or whatever of all of their stuff because they've been doing it for so long. And I listened to it so much that I got like an award last year of like, you're a top listener to Vitamin String Quartet. It's like, thank you. I'm like, does that mean, do they get a message saying, hey, there's a guy that really likes your stuff? But it's just have it on. And then every once in a while you'll catch on to something and be like, oh, hey, that's Take On Me or whatever too. But it's not enough to take you out of whatever you're doing. You can sort of just then drift back in.
That's funny.
So how about you two? What do you guys need for music? And
That's so funny. I just today actually discovered I do different things when I'm in the beginning of trying to figure out a project. Like typically I can't listen to words either because it's just too dreamy to sort of like I'm just really reaching into the ether to build a foundation. But once I have that foundation, I typically have an album that is like the album for that project. And it's usually by one of my favorite artists. But I'll listen to that album like that's the album that gets me into the zone. But I can't listen to it while I'm trying to form the story. I can only do it after I've already got the outline and now it's time to just play in the world. And then I can get lost in that and the music is on in the background and it just sort of is informing it without being front. But if I try to listen to an album that I love while I'm trying to form the bare bones of a story, I start listening to the song instead of writing. But today I discovered on Spotify, they have like writing playlists, creativity playlists, and on Apple Music, they have playlists that exist as well. But I think the soundtrack thing is actually a smarter way to go, because I do typically go for focus music, chill music, instrumental stuff, you know. I never thought about using soundtracks, actually. That might be interesting.
I am a huge soundtrack fan, and my go-to is usually Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. For some reason, and I guess Nine Inch Nails. Actually, whatever you want to say about the Tron Ares soundtrack, the movie, the soundtrack was dope. So I'll put on that kind of music. Also, Brian Eno is a huge, big circulation in my writing playlist. The challenge I have is actually not lyrics. I'm really fine having lyrics on. It's really the pacing of the thing. If it is, I think Ryan said this, if it's inconsistent at all, my writing, I can read the momentum of the music in the finished work, right?
Wow.
I can sort of read the flow of action to stillness in the finished chapter. And I have to be careful of that because it gets in the way of story. I don't know what that means. There's probably a condition that can be treated. I don't know. But I do feel it. I notice it for sure.
No, just one last comment, Pete. You may not be the Taylor Swift of podcasting, but you're definitely like the Beyonce of podcasting.
Wow!
You know.
Okay, you know what?
Wow,
take that.
That's pretty good.
That is aspirational.
Good. I'll take it.
But I do enjoy lyrics so much so that I have started a new project for this year, and I'm going to be sharing it with all of our listeners. I'm going to be doing. I had so much fun talking about mixtapes and doing mix. I'm going to be doing a new mix every month. So this is not necessarily going to be like used to write to specifically, but I sort of want to do that like sort of what the feeling is, what the vibe is going on. So I have the first one is done for January, and then I'll be doing one a month for the thing, and I'll be putting them in the show notes and on all the socials and stuff too. It's my 2020 mix project.
Okay, it's 2026 now, right?
No,
from 6 years ago.
2020 mix.
2020 mix. Got it. It's mix. Yep.
2020 mix. I needed to see it. Is there a logo? Have you done the brand guide yet?
I have.
We'll work on it.
I got cover art and everything. So link in the show notes. But then it's on YouTube Music just because it's less evil than Spotify.
As a callback to what we talked about before, one of the things I do that's a little bit of just my version of community engagement, which is just putting stuff out there, and if you respond, you respond. I will often do an Instagram story that I call today's writing soundtrack,
nice.
and I'll screenshot a song that is particularly key in what I'm working on that day, and I'll put it up. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I love that song," or "I've never heard of that," or there are other writers that will sometimes say, "Oh, that's the perfect song that I've been looking for. Thank you." And so it's just it's a very low effort way to share something I'm already working on anyway, and just get people to think about music and creativity.
Oh, very cool. Well, since we're being generous, I will offer to sing at any of our listeners' weddings.
Very nice. As long as they screen Jess plus none.
Yeah, right.
After the wedding.
At the party.
It's a great reception
for sure.
movie.
But after the marriage, definitely after ceremonies. Yeah,
definitely after.
All right, that was awesome. Let's see who is up for us for our second sponsor break for this episode.
Our story begins with trees. It's 1564, and a huge storm is tearing its way across England. As it hits the town of Borrowdale, it rips trees from the ground, uncovering something the people have never seen before, a strange mineral that they call plumbago. Fast forward to today, and a large cedar tree has just been felled. But don't worry, this was the reason it was planted, and it's about to make 170,000 people happy. Meanwhile, at the edge of the Brazilian rainforest, a young tree has reached the age where its vital fruit can be harvested. It'll keep doing this job for the next 100 years. These 3 parts, graphite, cedar, and rubber, combine to make one of mankind's greatest tools. And there's probably one within a few feet of you. You guessed it, it's the pencil. For the first drafts of the greatest works of literature, for the calculations to send a human to space, for your final exam, the pencil was there. Dreaming is an imperfect process. That's why they have an eraser. Take a moment to consider the wonder that is the pencil. It's always the right tool for the job.
Oh,
I know.
Oh my God, I got a little choked up on that one.
I had no idea.
I've loved so
that
many
was
pencils.
more earnest than I expected.
Yes.
I
I am
thought there was
very
gonna be
surprised
some
we got a
dark-
mini documentary out of that.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some darker, ironic twist, but no, that was very
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah, apparently people just
Outstanding.
wanted to appreciate the pencil. So thank you to pencils.
Let's come back to fandom. Come back to fandom, everybody. We're going to come back to fandom, and I just want to do a very quick roundtable. Who is your favorite creator based on how they manage their fandom, of which you are a member? Kyle.
Austin Kleon, like he
Really?
Yeah, I think he has such a passionate fan base, and he just basically gets to be out there sending inspirational words to people for them to make their own art, and the amount of stuff he's able to do just by having people support him, like it's
Love
pretty
it.
impressive.
Love it. Okay. Mandy.
I know it's cliche, but Taylor Swift, because she hasn't just released albums. She drops all these she's constantly communicating with her fans in this way that's a fun game that they get to play with her. You know, it's a conversation. And it's like she drops these little, what do you call those? Like Easter eggs in all of her things. So that's any creator that has Easter eggs. Like I've always fantasized about putting like a hidden bottle of Cholula in my films and seeing if everybody can find the hidden bottle of Cholula somewhere. I love the idea that you're offering a game for someone to come in and then play with you. So I love her for that. And her outfits.
Ryan, favorite creator.
Yeah, right now it's the main cast and creative lead for Critical Role.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I love those guys. So for one, I'm an old school D&D nerd, and watching some very passionate and also very talented storytellers and voice actors come together to tell those stories is very fun and very compelling, and often is good creative fuel for me. Like oftentimes listening to them, I will get ideas about my own stuff just because I'm inspired and really just having a great time. And they drew fans and built this empire off of doing a thing together that they would have done anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's how it started. And I love that about it. And that part of it, even though it's gotten bigger and, more produced and everything, that part of it hasn't changed. The fact that they're still doing just the thing that they want to do with their friends and having a great time for each other. Like Matt Mercer, who was the game master for the first 3 campaigns, said his only thought is creating a world and creating adventures that his friends there in the room with him will love to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. And of course, they have this massive fan base that's become global, and they do a great job going out and doing live shows and making those really fun. And there's an online element where they'll talk with people, but it seems to me like they do draw good boundaries also. There's the creative stuff that they'll engage with, and they're really good about encouraging like a good quality community.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. They tend to draw people that aren't as toxic as you would find in some other communities, which I think is really cool. So the fact that they built and continue to build fans just based on doing stuff that they genuinely love, and the byproduct is having a fan base, I really admire.
Well, what a great way to segue into the game. The game that we're going to play is called Tell Me You're a Fan Without Telling Me You're a Fan. I'll name a fandom, And each of you gives one tell, a phrase you'd say, a behavior, a purchase, a minor identity quirk that instantly outs you as a fan in this fandom. And then we'll do the creator version. So we'll think about your fandom. You get to say what you think should be the tell or the out or the in-joke or the swag to actually define that boundary. So I'll name the fandom. You've got a few seconds to say exactly what would out you as a member of that fan without saying, I'm a fan of this fandom. And you don't have to know deep canon. You just have to know what those people are stereotypically known for. That's all you have to know. But I know some of you are in there.
I was kind of hoping that the game would be hide and seek because I've been playing that this whole episode.
The whole time.
No, we're not doing that. Okay, that's fine.
We
We'll
have
do
to
yours.
go really fast.
Yeah.
Mandy,
Next time,
we don't
maybe.
have time for your jibes. Your internet is on an egg timer. So, all right. Tell me you're a fan of Twilight, the YA self-aware vampire werewolf phenomenon.
How about lusting over teenage boys, even though I'm a middle-aged woman with 3 kids?
I was thinking, hang on tight, spider monkey.
Oh, that's good. I see tree floating, Mandy.
Is that a wooden stake in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Okay, now tell me you're a fan. Tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan of the X-Files.
The truth is out there.
Cigarette smoking man.
Uh-huh.
Right across the bow, you guys. Right across the bow. Mandy, what do you got? I know you were a big fan of X-Files.
And then it got weird.
Nice.
Okay, how about this? Tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a Swiftie. I know the reason I did that is because I think I'm going to send Mandy into Vapor Lock. There are too many choices.
Folklore is highly underrated.
Do you want to have one of my bracelets? Do you want to trade bracelets?
Okay, that's pretty good.
I mean, that fan base is so huge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know any unifying characteristics because there's so many fans.
Please, Ryan.
Oh.
Please.
Picking up a guitar and crying about relationships. But that's
That's earned.
yeah. That's
Ouch.
that's not
Oh no.
that's not insulting. That's made a lot of artists a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Okay. How about this?
Your required watching will be the docuseries. Thank you very much.
Tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan of The Princess Bride.
Inconceivable.
To blave.
Using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
As you wish. Okay, how about this one? I'll give you one right across the bow. This one's for Ryan. How about tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan of Critical Role?
Mm.
Oh, is it Thursday yet?
How you want to
Okay.
do this?
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good one.
Mandy, just give me something. Give me anything.
Put some cinnamon and frosting on that and give me a cup of coffee. I mean, that's the only role I could think of.
Nice.
Okay. How about tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan of Pokemon?
Got to catch them all.
Pika?
Pikachu.
I've never seen a Pokemon.
What?
I mean, aliens in my phone? Aliens are in my phone?
You know
Nice.
what?
I don't-
That might do it. That might do it. Okay.
Team Rocket's blasting off again.
How about let's get to some soft fandoms?
Hmm.
Tell me you're an Apple person without telling me you're an Apple person.
I missed the headphone jack.
Jeans and a black turtleneck.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
where is my settings now?
Okay, one more. Only for the jokes. Tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan of Harry Potter.
Sorry, guys, I gotta go take a wizard.
Oh.
What? That is, tell me you're a fan without telling me you're a fan. I've got about 100 more fandoms to go through, so we may come back for this game. But I can already see there are definitely some password memes in there. I think we've got some red flags for sure, and maybe even some merch. So I gotta take a wizard is going on a shirt for sure. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today in the Craft and Chaos Lounge. We sure appreciate you, even if Mandy pops in and out like a wizard. She just apparates all over the place. You see what we're doing? It's just we're leaning in to problematic magic. We sure appreciate you being here. Check us out at craftandchaos.fun. Tell your friends. This is how we do this, as we grow together, because you tell your friends and we create a fandom. And it's just good for everybody. It's good and healthy and wholesome for everybody. On behalf of Ryan Dalton and Kyle Olson and Mandy Fabian, I'm Pete Wright. And we'll see you next time right here on Craft and Chaos.
Don't make weird art.